Okay, I'm going to call this 14th meeting of the Community and Protective Services Committee to order. This is a virtual meeting during the COVID-19 emergency. The City of London is committed to making every effort to provide alternate formats and communication supports for council, standing or advisory committee meetings and information upon request. To make a request for any city service, please contact accessibility@london.ca or 519-661-2489, extension 2425. To make a request specific to this meeting, please contact cpsc@london.ca. I'll start, colleagues, by just looking for disclosures of interest. Indicate on the Zoom if you need. Okay, I don't see any. Brings us to the consent agenda. There are 3 items. Would any members of the committee like to pull those for separate discussion? If not, perhaps there's a motion to deal with them as part of one consent. Moved by Councillor Lewis. Seconder for that? Councillor Hillier. Any discussion, questions about any of those items? If not, perhaps I could turn it to city staff just to have a brief discussion about the coordinated access system, which is highlighted in report 2.3. And I'm going to go, just before we do that, okay, Councillor Lewis is, I think, saying the same thing. Perhaps I can turn it over to city staff to just speak about coordinated access. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I'm actually going to hand this over to Mr. Cooper, who was instrumental in bringing the coordinated access to the City of London. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, and through the chair, just a brief overview of the report that's been provided today. Our coordinated access system is a program that the City of London has began approximately just over a year ago, just before the pandemic started. It's a requirement of some of our federal funding that we received from as part of the Reaching Home program, which requires us as a signatory to that agreement, as well as our work through the Built for Zero campaign to implement a coordinated access system. So over the last year and a bit, we've began to institute that program. We've had a lot of uptake through the program, but the nuts and bolts of the program really are it provides a single coordinated response for individuals who are experiencing homelessness. So although there may be multiple access points to that singular response, it is a coordinated community response to trying to deal with homeless challenges, affordability challenges, and people that are having challenges with housing stability. So we have worked, and my team have worked tirelessly over the last year to work to implement this program. We are on track to have a sort of a full program implemented by March 2022. As you'll see in the report, we've had quite a number of inquiries so far this year. We have sort of worked with a number of programs in hospitals and in the justice system to try and help coordinate discharge planning better in the community so people aren't discharged to homelessness. We've undertaken this year is our second year of 2 so far in establishing community priorities, and you can see the priorities are listed in that area. Our next big challenge with the coordinated access is making sure from the top end of that system, we get enough units and enough resources that we're able to match to the need and the demand that we're seeing through the front sort of access points of that system. And so working with our Housing Development Corp colleagues, working with nonprofit providers in the community, and as well as a lot of the funding that council has endorsed and changes to our system that council has endorsed, has allowed us to identify resources, supplements, housing support resources to support housing individuals and achieving housing stability. So the coordinated access system is going to be, I would say, a linchpin in a lot of the work that we're doing moving forward and changing our system to support people better with housing stability.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cooper. Having heard that overview, colleagues, any discussion or comments on the consent agenda? Go ahead, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I am, first of all, thankful for the update from our staff on this. I'm very happy that this is moving forward. I wanted to comment, and particularly for members of the public today, because I know that in the last couple of weeks, there were some reports about changes in shelter sizes and what that would mean. And that came out without us able to really address it because, of course, there's still an RFP process going on. But this is another example of a tool that is in place, and our staff and members of council are trying to work really hard to change the narrative on housing and homelessness in the city. And this is a key part of that. I think it's really important when folks look at the housing and homelessness crisis that we have in the city, that there's some recognition that there's not one solution, and it's going to require a lot of different tools to get us to a better place than we currently are. This coordinated access report today is one of those tools, and I'm very happy to see that it's progressing the way it is. So I just want to thank our staff. I am sure that they have received some of the same messages we have in the last couple of weeks, you know, implying that we are going backward on housing and homelessness. And I think that's actually the exact opposite. We are moving forward to try and provide housing stability so that there is less need for homelessness services, because people will actually have a more stable option to lay their head at night. So I just wanted to say to the staff, thank you for that. We know you're working hard on this, and we'll continue to support you as we can at council.
Thanks very much, Councillor Lewis. Any other discussion? If not, I'm going to open the motion up for a vote, which has already been moved and seconded.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 4-0.
Schedule items, of which there are none. Items for direction, of which there are none. The deferred matters and additional business item, there's the deferred matters list. I'll look see if there's a mover for that. Councillor Lewis, seconder. Councillor Hillier, any discussion? Councillor Lewis, go ahead.
Just one quick housekeeping matter, Mr. Chair. I believe in reviewing the deferred matters list, item 4 and item 11 are actually the same item. Item 11 is an update from the last direction that has come from council on this, but they're actually the same item, so perhaps we could get that tidied up for the next committee meeting.
I see some nodding, so I think that'll be taken care of by the next committee meeting. Any other discussion? If not, let's get a seconder. Let's get a seconder and Councillor Hillier. Let's move to the voting.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 4-0.
Okay, that brings us to our confidential session. We have 4 items listed on the public agenda. One is for solicitor-client privilege advice. The other one is a personal matter, but identifiable individual. So are the other 2. I wonder if we have a motion to go into closed session to deal with those items. Councillor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Hillier. Get that up on the screen. And then once we go into closed session, we'll be going back into public session and adjourning from there after the closed session. Okay, the vote's open.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 4-0.
Go to closed session, just give the clerks a little bit of time to turn things over.